People never understand themselves nearly as well as they think they do. We think if I'm ever in a tough situation, I'll handle it perfectly. We tell ourselves that we'll rise to the occasion, make the right choices, and push through adversity with grace. But the truth is, you don't know. It's not until you're forced to take action that you're really ready to learn about yourself, the real you. We tend to have a very narrow minded understanding of ourselves, typically resulting from our emotions. Basic self awareness is just something that many people lack. They allow their desires, their fears, to blind them from what they really are. If you don't believe me, then just ask Subaru. Subaru, after being isekai into this fantasy world, thinks life will be a breeze. With his superior knowledge from his original world, he will easily be able to overcome any challenges. After all, he's the main character. But let's say he was in for a shock, and reality hits harder than he ever expected. The fantasy quickly turns into a nightmare, and Subaru was forced to confront a harsh truth. He's not as strong, smart, or capable as he thought. In the beginning, Subaru's arrogance blinds him to the real stakes of this new reality. He believes he can win over his friends and allies with charm, outwit enemies with modern day knowledge, and ultimately become a hero. But the world doesn't just bend to his will. He experiences loss, defeat, and even death over and over again, each time more brutal than the last. And every time he returns, Subaru is forced to confront his own shortcomings. Subaru's journey is one of pain and failure. But more than that, it's about self-discovery. Each time he dies and comes back, he has to face the parts of himself he was avoiding. The selfish desires of Amelia's love, the insecurities that he's not strong enough, and of course, the arrogance of thinking he could face these powerful enemies without any prior training. At first, he was overwhelmed by these realizations. He despairs, feels worthless, and doubts everything about who he is. It's actually his repeated failure that allows Subaru to learn more about himself. Most of us think we'd be the hero of our own story, but Subaru shows us the path to becoming a hero isn't about having power or knowledge. It's about understanding who you are when everything falls apart. And for Subaru, that's exactly what happens. Everything falls apart. He has to watch as the people he cares about die. He has to bear the weight of failure and feel the crushing pressure of responsibility. The real journey is internal. It's not just about defeating external enemies. It's about confronting your own inner demons. And Subaru's journey started just the opposite. He thinks he's special, that the world revolves around him, and somehow that things will always work out because he's the main character. This pedestal that we're putting ourselves on doesn't exist until we prove it, until we are put in situations that test our character, until the things we say we are and we say we can do are put into action. It's easy to say that you're a good person when things are going well. But what happens when you're faced with impossible choices? What happens when you have to sacrifice your own happiness for the sake of others? Or when you realize that you're not as strong or as capable as you thought? And for Subaru, the shock he experiences after realizing his fantasy world isn't a playground is a turning point. He's hit with a brutal reality that life isn't sunshines and rainbows. It's about survival. It's about making tough choices and living with the consequences. In life, we often face challenges that feel overwhelming, and in these moments, we discover the real us. Not the version we imagined, but the real version that exists when things don't go our way. True self-awareness comes from hardship. It comes from the moment when we're forced to step outside our comfort zone and see ourselves clearly, flaws and all. In the end, Subaru's journey is not just about saving people he loves or defeating enemies in his way. It's about confronting the real Subaru, the one who isn't a hero, the one who has to overcome his own weaknesses before he can ever hope to succeed in the world around him. And he learns the greatest lesson of all. The greatest battle you will ever face is the one within yourself. Subaru's journey is a reminder that self-awareness and growth doesn't come from success. They come from struggle, They come from failure. The person you think you are will always be different from the person you actually are. And it's only through adversity that the two parts start to align. So the next time you think you know yourself, ask yourself this: have I really been tested? Have I really faced adversity? If the answer is no, then maybe you're still waiting to discover the real you, just like Subaru.